Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations about network marketing. Hi, I'm BK, and as usual, my co-host on the other end, Dr. Wayne.
Hi, BK. Hi, everyone.
So today is a little bit of a difference because we kind of have. I mean, it literally is going to be a candid conversation. We have no show notes prepared for you because we kind of got some questions about the topic we're going to talk about today, and we kind of felt that we might just talk a little bit about it and share our views on this. And it is about finding our home, and don't worry, this we are not going to change this to a real estate show. By home we mean our network marketing company, right, Dr. Wayne?
Yes, very, very true. And it's something that I think I know personally, I suppose I haven't experienced it because I've only had one home, so to speak. But I'm
Well,
sure there's a lot. Sorry,
you found the one you liked right from the start.
right from the start. Yeah, yeah. And but those people who are out there who may be still looking for their home, I suppose this particular podcast is definitely for you.
And we kind of
And
wanted to talk about a few type of home seekers. So, for example, one common type of home seeker is someone who owns a few homes, right? They belong to several network marketing companies, and we'll talk a little bit about how that might work and that might not work for you. And then another common home seeker would be they are not happy with the current one that they are in, right? And they are kind of trying to find perhaps relocate. So these are the two perhaps common scenarios we're going to talk about today, right, Dr. Wayne? Any others you
yes,
can think
yes.
of?
Sorry.
Any other scenarios we can think of? I think these are the two common ones, right?
They're the two common ones, and I suppose then, I know we've talked about it in other in our candid conversations, but maybe we should go through, some of the things that both BK and I look at when we're looking for a network marketing company initially and you really don't know about what we're going to talk about until you've been with a network marketing company for a while. That is a bit of a challenge because it's kind of like, when you get your first girlfriend, I suppose, or you have your first girlfriend, there's this euphoric period where no matter what, if we use the girlfriend analogy, no matter if it's a girlfriend or boyfriend, it doesn't matter what is said, you can't see the negative, you only see the positive, and yet all your friends can see the negative, so to speak.
Yeah,
So
love is
there is
blind.
this. Love is blind, yeah. And even with network marketing companies, love can be blind. So it's one of the first things that we speak about is understanding the the ethos, so to speak, making sure that the ethos is very strong. It comes from the heart. It's not about money. So if your network marketing company has goals for you to achieve, that is written in contractual, then maybe that's not a nice ethos, for example. But if you're a person who excels in that way, then okay, that might be fine. But for myself personally, that type of ethos doesn't really allow you to grow as a person because that forces you to do things. And I'm of the belief that as we move through things, I'm not saying not to do, not to, to not stop your motivation moving forward, but if you find that you're pushing things, then things become harder. You can push the can down the road, but eventually you've got to get, one day you've got to get to the can and find out really what is happening with yourself. So, the ethos, just summing it up, is where the people at the top basically are wanting you to grow as a person. It's more about helping people and more about the product, how that can help people. And if it's about the money, I'd probably have a question mark over it.
Yeah, I guess what Dr. Wayne is saying here is also kind of tied to the compensation plan of a company, right? So for me, ideally, the compensation plan should be a guide and not enforcement. So, for example,
Yes.
like what Dr. Wayne was trying to say just now was that sometimes some companies, the way they put out the comp plan is that if you must do certain things before, you must do certain things in a certain way, every single month or every single week, depending on how the payments schedule is like. And if you don't, then in a sense you kind of lose out on the business. Whereas another company might have a comp plan that um, gives you a little bit more latitude and freedom, and also takes care of you as a human being, understanding that things in life might happen, and it is a guide, and rather than an enforcement, right? So,
Yes.
and I
Yeah.
think one of the things that we like about where we are now is that this particular comp plan that we have, um, it allows you the latitude to grow as you learn, and at the same time, it also guides you on a very step by step way, which is basically, I think, the way we grow, right? I mean, we start from baby steps, and then if you aspire to fly and soar, then it also allows that capacity when you want to do that.
Correct. Yes, well put. So that's number one. And I think the other important one for myself then was to make sure that the company is profitable. Like there's so many startup companies now that are not profitable for even 5 years or 3 years or even longer. On the books, they're basically in negative territory. So that's really was important for myself. And we do know the company that we're with was profitable from day one, and it's still profitable, and had some unbelievable days, like $1 million days, for example. So, which is quite inspiring when you think of the growth within a very small amount of time, which is fantastic. So, being profitable within a company is really important. And then where you are on the J curve with a company as well. So think of a hockey stick, and think of when a company starts out, typically it might go down a little bit, then it basically comes up, and then it goes into the hockey stick. If you're in the handle, meaning there's already millions and millions of people who are on board, you've probably missed the opportunity. You want to be basically whereby you've gone through the critical stage of your development, and you're basically 5 years in business, and now you can actually see the potential of growth being backed up by prior statistics in terms of income per year. Is now you can see it's ready to take off. So that's, for us, that was two really important things as well.
And just to share a little bit of my backstory as well, because prior to um, being involved with my current company, I was mainly doing e-commerce in China. And while it was highly profitable and we were growing well, but it also invited a lot of unfair and, in a sense, very nasty competition, because there is absolutely no protection against competition in that arena, right? When you sell something that is highly profitable, basically competitors will come in. So
Yes.
that kind of led to a failure in my business. And when I was looking for a new company, protection against competition was a very key decision making factor for me, right? And also
Yes.
kind of lends to the concept, if you are familiar with these two concepts, a blue ocean concept and a red ocean concept. And so a red ocean is where perhaps there are already many existing products in the same space. That means, in other words, you are kind of competing with another company for a similar kind of offering. I mean, of course, each offering might have their own USP or unique selling proposition, but in a sense, you are still competing with one another. The other sense is the other side of things would be the blue ocean strategy, where when you are in a market where you are growing a new offering to the market space that nobody else has, right? Now, of course, both sides have certain challenges. The blue ocean ones, because it's a new offering, is kind of like you are back in the 1920s telling people about antioxidants, right? People might not know about it. But of course, the upside is you then have a massive new market to develop. And like what Dr. Wing was saying just now, because we are in a blue ocean company, we have overcame the first initial resistance where people are not too sure about what is it and what we have. But now we are entering the growth phase. So I kind of am very thankful I found the right company at the right timing and in the right blue ocean.
And the terminology, I suppose, is a category creator. Like, think of antioxidants back in the 20s when they were first discovered by Henry A. Mattel. Like, it took like what is 60 years, 6 decades for people to actually understand it. But once people understood what antioxidants are, it's just incredible the growth phase that then happened. You could even look at penicillin as another example of a category creator. It still took a time for normal doctors to come on board. Now, unfortunately, using that example, it does have negatives, meaning now we've found out that they are being overused, etc. But category creators are the ones where you get phenomenal growth. That's where I wanted to basically come back to. And the great thing about where we're involved is we're only dealing with a few products, which is fantastic. You're not dealing with 20, 30, 40, 10, whatever it may be. You're only dealing with a certain amount of products, which just makes things a lot easier for the headspace between the 6 inches between our ears. So that was also important as well for both of us as well.
It's just the simplicity of the single offering that we have. Now, of
Yes.
course, it's really entirely up to you because some people do like the variety,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
if you are that kind, then you look for a company that has plenty of offerings, So I guess these are some of the factors that uh, influence both my and Dr. Wayne's decision in choosing a company, right? And of course, because we were both involved in our own other separate businesses before, we kind of always looked at it from a business owner's perspective, right? And
Yes.
I always like to say this that in essence, when you get involved in a network marketing company, it is owning a business. It is not, you're not working for the company. In essence, it is a
Correct.
partnership because what happens is that I kind of think of them as my working partner, where they supply me with the research R&D, with the products, with the logistics and everything else, and I just help them with the distribution and marketing, right? So you are entering into kind of a symbiotic partnership with them, right? So you're not working for the company. So when Doc and I both were looking at our own companies now, we were approaching it obviously from the point of view that we are business owners, and therefore these are the things that we have used to evaluate whether this is a good partner to partner with in the first place. Kind of like
Yes.
marriage, like what you were saying.
Yes, which we used at the beginning, yeah, and be careful of the euphoria that can happen. But when you come in with a business mind, and looking at those aspects we just spoke about, that euphoria can easily be spotted if you manage yours to find yourself in that.
Yeah, I know.
and,
We business is more about numbers in a sense. So
yes,
when you look at things in a more logical and analytical way, uh, that that helps a lot as well. Now, of course, it also in line with some of the things we talk about. Um, I think sometimes it's also very important to trust your intuition,
yes,
right? It's kind of like if I go back to my home seeking and home buying analogy, right? I'm not sure whether any of you have had this experience. I have, where you go to a certain new property and somehow it just doesn't feel right to you, right? And later on, you find out that there were some things that were not so great about that property. So, and then you go to another viewing and then you realize that, hey, it just feels right. So sometimes the universe may also be speaking to you, and trust your intuition. On top of being analytical, trust your intuition as well.
and that's really what this whole podcast, why we put it together, is actually allowing people to see the 6 inches between their head in terms of so we can change that to allow our intuition to become more heightened, to allow a network marketer to have more clarity, more focus more motivation because it comes to you instinctively. Rather, we used that analogy before, pushing or kicking the can down the road. If you have to keep on pushing yourself to do something, and I mean push hard, then usually what happens, that usually collapses, unfortunately. But that's what this is all about. That's why we put it together, is helping everyone to allow their intuition to be so heightened that you can actually speak to someone and go, yep, that person's a business builder. That person's going to run. Yes, this is a company that really, really is going to help me to go to where I want to get to. And buying a house, looking at the girlfriend or the boyfriend, exactly the same. You get the same feeling. And I've spoken to many people being in this industry, wellness industry. Relationships come up a lot of the times, and people will say something like, I just knew there wasn't something right. I wish I listened to that bit of me. I wouldn't be going through this now if I listened to that bit of me. And what we're doing is trying to help that intuitive force come out, so you can be that superpower, be that super person.
Yeah.
And for me, like, it was a huge change in being involved with network marketing. I've had the JOB, if we go from left to right, well, it goes the other way, doesn't it, when looking at the screen? So you look at JOB, just over broke, you look at self-employed, you can't sack the boss, you still got a JOB, really. And then what I've found with network marketing, when you have all those dots we just went through basically ticked, it's a clean, it's a free business. You feel free in it, which is fantastic as well. So we better get back to those two topics that we're getting to. So one was
I mean, we're just laying the groundwork, right? So this is like how you choose if you are new for the first time and you're looking for the home for the first time. So this is kind of some of the factors we would consider, right? We would consider. Now,
and even then, BK, just taking that further, with what I just said there, you might be in a network marketing company now where you just intuitively go, oh, this doesn't resonate with me. Doesn't resonate. What can I do about that? And that's what this is about as well. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, correct. So perhaps we should start with the second scenario first, where you might be you're already in an existing network marketing company, and maybe for some reason or another, we do hear of friends or from industry colleagues that stories like this, like they said that when they started, the company was like this and this and this, but over time they have made certain changes, and now the company has become like that and that and that. Sounds a bit like marriage.
Yes.
Sounds a bit like marriage then, where when we first got married, it was like this and this and this, and then it became like that and that and that, right? Yeah, so sometimes they express a bit of disappointment, discouragement. They joined the company when it was how they felt it was going to be. But sometimes, especially for very old and established companies, they do change owners sometimes.
Yeah.
They do change management sometimes. And also because of market forces, sometimes they are forced to make changes. So, like remember we said about blue and red ocean, a lot of them may be in red ocean markets, therefore they have to make certain changes, right? And if you're caught, right? So what can a person in that scenario do?
Yeah, it's then what we're offering here. I suppose what we're offering here is that understanding of coming back to your intuitiveness, what you feel right. And it's the same if we use the analogy of the girlfriend-boyfriend marriage. I know that may be tougher if it's marriage, but if it's a girlfriend, or a boyfriend, you can then go, well, this intuitive doesn't feel right. Let's get out early rather than wait. That's that. And if that feeling gets stronger and stronger, and you do stay in that relationship, using that as the analogy, typically what will happen is it'll end up just getting worse and worse, whereby when it does break up, it's horrific, for example, because of that. So, if you've got that feeling now and it's being reinforced by talking to other colleagues and that type of stuff, where you're not happy because of changes, where it's gone from this and this to that and that, for example, then it's, just go, well, okay, let's just sit back. I'm not going to throw everything away, but I'm just going to look at things differently. And when you do that, and you do this from an intuitive force, you do this from an accepting and letting go, you'll generally find then something will come your way that will just go, yes, that's the one. That's the one for me, for example. So, yeah.
And of course, we do hear of many success stories where people do move from one home, as in moving from one network marketing company to another, and
Yes.
and doing exceptionally well because in the first place, like what we said earlier on, they have always treated it as a business, and due to some reasons or another, the first business partner didn't quite work out the way they hoped it would, and therefore
Yes.
they decided to switch, right? To switch. So loyalty is a good thing, right? And then we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit, right? Loyalty to a company is always a good thing, but it is on top of all the different factors that we have talked about, right? So if you intuitively or in a business sense start to understand that perhaps the current company you're in is not going to bring you to a place that you want to be, whether it is financially or ethically, then like what Dr. Wayne says, sometimes it might be a better decision to decide to cut um, losses or even cut the relationship and move on, right? Especially if your family or your livelihood depends on it, right? So that might be something you have to do. And
Yes.
something I learned a long time ago from some of my accounting friends is the concept of sunk cost. It's a concept of sunk cost. So, which means that whatever time and money you have invested now, you cannot recover it anyway. There's no way you can recover it. And by continuing in an unhappy or not a fruitful partnership, you are basically losing more time and more money, right? But if you decide to make a decision here and now and say that, okay, I'm going to make a switch, or I'm going to move to another industry, or you could move to another industry. So bear in mind again, we're not saying that network marketing is the only way to make money, right? So that is what we are trying to say here, right? But it's always about being clear-headed, listening to our heart, and making a wise judgment call as to when it should end and when something new should start. I know it's painful, right? It's not an easy thing to do, especially if you have been entrenched in your former company for years. But we have heard of people who have been entrenched for 10 years, 15 years, and yet made successful switches, right? Some
Very
in
much
our
so.
company as well, right? So those are obviously um, beacons of hope, I feel.
Well put. I like that. Beacons of hope. Yes, yes. And of course, if you're in a great network marketing company and you're enjoying it, that's absolutely fantastic. Like BK and I, it's just brilliant when you do find that home and you feel as if you belong. And especially the thing that I really like about where we are is that we help each other and cross lines. There's none of this negatives with regards to where we are, which is fantastic with cross lines, etc. We help each other to basically move forward in our business, and we've always said all the way along that no matter what business it is, network marketing, etc., whether it be small business, it's always the 6 inches between the ears. And that's what this podcast is all about. Not that today we're getting much into that, admittedly. What we're doing is more the practical side of the understanding. If you find yourself caught, or if you find yourself, okay, how do I make a decision about finding a network marketing company? Or if you're in one, does it meet those criteria we just spoke about? And does it then feel right? The best way is put your hand on your heart and then literally go, okay, does this feel right? And if it doesn't feel right, then look at things differently and look at as said, one way is you don't throw everything away. You then go, well, I'm going to traverse over here. This income's going to come in until this one, and then there's all different ways you can structure that. That's for sure.
Yeah. And of course, then let's move on to the other scenario, which is
Yep.
people who might be dipping into many pools at the same time. They are trying out many companies at the same time. from what I understand or from what I know, maybe Dr. Wing can chime in at the same time as well. I have never seen anyone being successful that way.
Correct, because there's a concept called immersion. So if you immerse yourself in one company or one business, you will generally succeed. But if you're trying now, and there's another concept of shiny objects. So there's a shiny object of this network marketing company, then there's a shiny object of this network marketing company because it sounded better. So you join all these shiny objects and you're not immersing yourself. So what happens now is your energy now becomes convoluted, it becomes messy, it
Dispersed.
becomes dispersed. And unfortunately, what happens now is you go, well, network marketing, you could even come up with the concept or the thought, network marketing doesn't work. I've tried all these different ones and it doesn't work. But when you look at the concept of immersion and you really get what was just being said, that's the way you succeed in anything. Like I immersed myself playing squash, and I ended up being in a state squad and ended up being a professional squash coach. But if I would have immersed myself in tennis, squash, badminton, table tennis, I would have got confused because each one of them is different strokes, different ways of playing, different mechanical ways, and I would not have succeeded. And it's the same with anything. So the more you cannot immerse, the more you'll find success may or may not be as easy to get to.
Yeah, I guess it's like the common saying, right? You are a jack of all trades, but you are ace of none.
Yeah. But
And
even the jack of all trades, like you go over to a plumber's house, guess what? Their plumbing's terrible. You go over to a gardener's house, their gardens are terrible.
so
Sorry, went off track there.
it is and of course in line with our relationship marriage really analogy. It's kind of like I think we are designed for monogamy more than polygamy. So if you have multiple girlfriends, it might seem fun at the outset, or multiple boyfriends, it might seem fun, but trust me, I've heard from stories that it becomes very difficult to juggle such things. It becomes a very tough challenge, right? So so that's the thing, right? So if you are in a scenario where you kind of dipping your toes into many companies, then once again, I guess what Dr. Wayne and I are trying to say is that look at what's in front of you. Seriously look at it, evaluate it analytically, business wise. Look at the factors, and then also listen to your heart, and choose one and focus on it, right?
Yeah,
Or you could look at all of them and realize that none of them are the ones that you want, right? Because in essence, if you have found something you want, you wouldn't be looking for the next shiny object. So
correct. Yeah,
sometimes that is a clue for you as well, right? You kind of haven't found something that is worthy of you investing 100% into it, right? So that's what we would encourage you to do, right? Look at it very open heart, in an open manner, analyze it, listen to your heart, and maybe talk to some industry colleagues, and then choose one, right? I think that would be a um, better way to go, right? I actually just remembered there's one more scenario or one more person that we may need to talk about, right? And that
lovely.
is someone who might have tried network marketing for a while and has been disappointed and left the industry, but always felt that this is actually a very good industry and I want to come back, right? You're kind of jaded, maybe because of the first scenario we talked about, because the company changed in terms of ethics and direction, and that didn't really gel very well with you. And then you got disappointed and you left the industry. But you
Yeah,
always felt that calling, that hey, this is something I can do and this is something I want to do, right?
this
So
is my home.
Yeah. Don't give up, right? Take a look, take a look. And because um, new network marketing companies are sprouting all over the place all the time, right, Dr. Wayne? A lot.
Certainly,
There are
certainly.
always a lot of companies. Now, of course, then again, be very mindful that one of our selection criteria is that there must be some form of stability and proof of concept that the company has, uh, maybe 5 years in the industry, is growing and so on. But of course, having said that, every company has a startup phase, right? If you are a very um, you have a very high risk appetite, then well, go for it, right? If everything else checks, the tick box, that you have a tick in all the boxes for other things, and you have a huge risk appetite. But just be aware that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. A new company, ground floor opportunity, all these words that you get to hear about being thrown around, they don't necessarily mean the same things, right? Ground floor also means the highest risk, and it may not even take it off to the second floor. It remains on the ground floor permanently. So just be aware of all those things, right? Just be aware of all those things. But if you are looking for a home, and if you have been uh, perhaps hurt or damaged or jaded, right? We welcome you to take a look, right? We definitely welcome you to take a look, because I think both Dr. Wayne and I have found that this is the cleanest industry that we know of. Is it perfect? Of course not, right? But it is definitely one of the, we are working on it, right?
Yeah, and the statistics are showing that it's going to be the next, not $1 trillion industry. It's going to be trillions of dollars of industry. So it's going to be a fantastic space to watch, that's for sure. So we're glad we're in it, and we're glad we can help people through this particular podcast, or you might be viewing it on YouTube, wherever you may be listening or viewing it. We're always here to help, to be of service, and to help you through this. 6 inches between our head. For those people who are listening, yeah, I'm pointing between my ears. Yes.
Actually, the thing is, Dr. Wei, I mean, you kind of said that this is a very practical and pragmatic episode, but in a way, we are also still doing the typical energetic, universal um, outreach that we're doing. Because why? Part of the reason why we are doing this candid conversation is because we kind of want to give back value to the community. And when we do that, and when the whole industry gets painted in a better light, right?
Yes.
We elevate the industry, and we kind of help to bring greater awareness to how great an industry it is. In essence, it makes everyone's job easier, right? I mean, I'm sure that some of you may have had negative experiences or negative feedback from people say, network marketing, they look at you in a strange way, versus if you tell them you are running a retail store, or you have a retail business, or you are doing a tech startup. Nobody looks at you in that way, right? But what we do here, if we can elevate the status of the industry, then it just makes life easier for every one of us. When we talk to people next time, the person, oh yeah, network marketing industry, yeah, it's a very good industry, and it is, right? It is, without a doubt, right? So that's what we are doing here, and
Right.
hopefully, well, if you found value and in what we have shared today, and also in the other episodes, please help us by sharing it out, to your team, to your friends, and help them to understand that, look, Dr. Wayne and I are normal human beings. We were involved in several other industries beforehand, and yet we have found our home here in this industry, right? So I think that wraps up another episode. If you want to look at our previous episodes, we are found at networkmarketerpodcast.com. It's on the screen if you're watching this. If you're hearing us, it's at networkmarketerpodcast.com. And also, if you are keen to look at some of the universal laws that may impact your success, then please check us out at five, that's a numerical number five, fivehiddenreasons.com, where we talk about
Sure.
why most network marketers fail and why you do not have to, right? So thank you, Dr. Wayne. Next week, we'll probably be back to our regular programming, unless we have some other questions that pop up. Feel free to connect with us at our website, leave us an email or a message or something. And if there's an issue, if there's a training that you think we could do for you, right? Let us know. We would be happy to cater an episode just for that.
Lovely. Thanks, BK. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
So we will catch you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.